all the California schools are going to be closing next week. And I'm just kidding. That's too much. I'm just kidding with you guys. Too much clickbait. Yeah. Now, schools are not closing, but during COVID, a big thing that happened during the pandemic is a lot of schools got federal funding so that they can use this money. It was actually 23 California. Across the country, yes, but specifically we're talking about California. 23.4 billion was given to schools for different reasons, to hire people, to start programs, for even something as small as the air purifiers that now you see at every school. Whoever started those businesses during the pandemic are filthy rich because they sold it to every school.
And maybe maintenance and all that stuff.
Another thing I see now that we work in a lot of schools, the Prometheus. It's like the screen. They don't use projectors anymore. There's this thing called the Prometheus.
Is it like those smart TVs?
It's like those smart TVs. They're like 5,000 each
and you
one.
Can write on.
You can write on. And we use them all the time when we do workshops. And I'm like, every classroom has them. That was something that probably a lot of the money went to because that wasn't there before. We've been going to schools. This is something literally in the last year or two has been happening. So a lot of money was going to the schools,
which is kind of good. Like we want our kids, or if you have kids going to school, to have the very best.
But here's the problem, guys. Here's the situation that's happening. This is money that's stopping in September of 2024. So this school year, basically, that's coming, this next school year, a lot of that funding is going to zero because this was just temporary. Pandemic is basically in the past. And so just like anyone in life, we get used to that nice life where we have that big budget. And no one's really, like
thinking long term.
I don't think they're auditing where the money's really going too much. I mean, we have other issues going in California with what our money's going to, right? With the homeless and all the spending that's going on.
Yeah.
And so, with the high-speed rail, 100 feet, but $10 billion or something like that. Billions of dollars. Yeah. Whatever. You guys.
That's a different topic.
Different topic, but here's a hard thing about this. This is what something said, a quote that someone said about what's going to happen in the next year or so with these students is that the districts that got the most money, COVID money, those are the ones that have the most low-income students that are going to face the biggest losses. Here's the thing with the school district. How do you guys think a school district gets funded, your average school?
How many kids go to school?
That's part of it, but another thing too is taxes. So like, let's just think about a poor neighborhood. Most people, are they homeowners or renters?
Renters.
So are they paying property taxes?
No.
Probably not. A lot of times, since they're not paying property taxes and they're low income and they don't even...
no businesses there.
Not many. I'm not saying it's all like that, but on average, low income communities, people don't own houses. They're not paying into the taxes. So there's a lot of budget issues. So with all this money that was coming in, it was great for those neighborhoods. But now with this money leaving, it's going to be hard because not only the money is stopping, but enrollment has declined. So there's less students because people are having less kids because they're moving out because it's expensive. Why would you have your kid and raise your kid in LAUSD when, the average house is $800,000? You can move to Riverside for like $300,000, $400,000 for half the cost. Everyone's moving to the Inland Empire or even other states. San Bernardino, Nevada, etc.
Dang. So it's like we're in the previous episode talking about recession. Even schools are now like it took a while. That's what we say. This whole money that got thrown into the system, it even affected the schools and
in a good way at first.
Yeah, an amazing way. It's like especially because low income schools are the ones like Joshua said, they have no money to be able to update the tools and everything in the classroom. So it's good, but now they got used to that. They didn't budget and now they're going to face issues. And they said by this September, so that's only like 3 months away. Have they said what are their plans or what they're going to do?
I mean, like for example, in LAUSD, I believe the thing that the district, what is he called? I forget what the guy's called. The superintendent. He had mentioned that they were going to do a hiring freeze, which they're not really going to hire as much. And there might be some potential school closures because of all this, since it's set to expire. And approximately this is just LAUSD, not all of California, 1,800 staff members, including teachers and counselors, are funded by a one-time federal fund and may not be replaced upon departure. So, and it's not like these people didn't know. Sometimes jobs that you apply to, it's a contract base or at will or whatever. So that maybe it's not going to be permanent. But that sucks because maybe some of these people bought houses in LA. They started families there, or like they just planted there, and for them to lose the jobs, it'd be tough. Dang. So it takes time, for recessions to hit.
So even the government faces recessions.
They don't. If you don't budget it right, and here's the thing. let's just say you don't budget right, you don't have enough money, but you're in a low income community, it's hard to get funds. But if you're in a community where the school is in a really high
Rich
income,
area.
where families own the homes, the majority of the families their own homes, so obviously there's a lot of tax, property tax, a lot of money is going back to the school districts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be fine. They won't really have any issues with like, oh, yeah, we had money during the pandemic, and we use it for different things, but we'll be fine. We've been fine,
Mm-hmm.
for a long time. And since they own homes, a lot of those families are not going to leave. But like I
Yeah.
said, the places where the families are low income, they're not homeowners, and just a lot of issues. Obviously, that it's unfortunate that it's like that, but those are the families that are going to get the most affected.
Yeah, that's crazy. That sucks. And it's really interesting because at the same time that we're hitting this recession and schools are being affected, there's this new technology called AI. I don't want to always talk about AI, but I really love talking about that and learning more about it because it is going to affect even how the way your kids teach. So, I mean, if schools are going to be affected, I feel like either companies, corporations, money with big investors, I think one way that is going to help is with AI. It's really interesting, but it is going to affect teachers. Because if AI gets really good, like the other, 2 weeks ago, ChatGPT demonstrated this new AI, how kids are able to use it with their iPads or their computers, and they're able to have it turned on at the same time they're doing homework on the computer or their iPad. They can ask it questions like, hey, I don't understand what this is. I don't understand what this is. So I feel like there might be a solution through all these issues where either these schools somehow integrate these resources, because it's going to suck because at the end of the day, yeah, these teachers are going to be laid off, but those kids are never going to have a good classroom, get that experience, be able to learn. And we see that when we help people in low income, they're the ones that were mostly affected by the pandemic. Even though they got a lot of resources, a lot of them you can tell didn't get the proper teaching of how to do X, Y, and Z, and they're affected by it. And this is going to affect them not just right now in high school, but the rest of their life. If they're not able to read, be able to understand science, history, the basic subjects that you learn in school, it's going to affect you. And it's going to affect you not only just in education, but also you yourself as a person. You're not going to have the confidence out there to get a job. So it's like, we really need to do a good job and go to the schools and teach about finances, because you can learn about anything, but the most fundamental subject you can learn is how to manage your money. And I think if you're a school out there, you're a teacher out there, it's important to bring these resources. That's what we do at Advanced Like that. We go to these schools and we teach them, because it's so much better to start young than having to go through issues and then learn. I hope there's something that the government can do, because at the end of the day, again, the people that are going to get affected the most are poor and low income families.
Yeah, it's always been like that. It's always going to be like that.
That sucks.
It sucks. But thank God that as a nonprofit, we're doing something positive. We're in the schools teaching financial literacy. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these kids, that's like almost their last hope. Well, maybe I can, just if I'm smart with my money, maybe I will be able to buy a house, and I'll maybe get.
And don't they get excited when you teach these subjects?
They love it. They love it. And some of these kids are actually very smart when it comes to finances, more than high schoolers. Sometimes we go to middle school and elementary, and they're smarter than college students. Some of these students, and so it's really exciting. I think the biggest thing with this is if you're a parent and your kids go to a public school, because I'm sure it's different with private and charter school. Maybe it's similar with the charter. Be involved in your kids' education. Find out about the school. Like, hey, are they doing budget cuts? What's going to be happening with my student? You're your kid's only advocate. And if your kid is put in a classroom where there's 40 kids instead of 20, that's going to affect their education dramatically. Like, obviously, it's not the teacher's fault, because I wouldn't want to teach a class of 40 kids. That's hard.
It's supposed to do, yeah.
But it's just budget cuts. If teachers get fired, that's honestly what's going to happen. Bigger classrooms, and your kids' education is not going to be in the same quality. And it's not the teacher's fault. It's just the reality.
It sucks because they're always the one that they blame. Like every time we see videos, it's like, it's the teachers. But sometimes they just don't even have the resources.
It's
or the support.
It's tough. That's why it all starts at home as parents. That's where we really start that education and being an advocate for your kids. Super, super important. Obviously, I don't have a kid. I just have a dog. But I know
basically your kid.
That's basically my kid.
He's homeschooled.
Yeah, but basically one day I hope to do that for my kids too, where it's good to be involved and know what's obviously being taught, but more than anything that the kids are getting the good education. And then if budget cuts are coming, you can see how can we help. Is there grants that we can apply? What can we do? Is there letters we can write to the city to put pressure on our politicians? What can we do to fix this?
Because like obviously they have money. Like we said, they spend a lot on homeless, the high speed rail, but is it getting spent in areas that matter more to you? And that's one thing that I always tell people, like, if you see your city, there's a problem or issue, you need to address it. Vote. Tell your friends and family, like, did you know that this bill is going to pass and it's going to affect my kids or not affect them? Like, you have to be involved. And you notice it when you drive through communities, is like you can tell which community is actually involved versus not involved.
Yeah.
So make the difference. It's because I think a lot of our families come from, cultures where the government is really corrupt and like they don't even care about the people. But here, your voice actually matters a lot. So get involved in your schools, but also in your local city. When there's a voting politician, bills that are being passed, get involved and know what's happening in your city. You can make a huge difference, not just for yourself, but your future generations.
Yeah, very, very important. And be that voice that your voice is very powerful. And that's what we'll finish off today. I know we started a little negative talking about how schools are losing funding, but there's hope. I know that you're going to be a good advocate for your kids. And who knows, maybe a new program passes or the bill gets passed or something happens, maybe federally or in the state, where we're able to avoid budget cuts, especially in the low-income neighborhoods or communities where students are going to get affected the most. Just like this, I'll end up with this quote. It says the districts that got the most COVID relief dollars, those are those that have the most low-income students, are not going to face the biggest losses. So if that doesn't motivate you to try to be a difference and see how you can change that, let's do it together. I mean, we're doing it by going to the schools and teaching financial literacy, but more than anything, put that pressure on talk to your school representatives, with the teachers, principals, and all that, and say, hey, what's going on? I want to know what's going on with the school. Are we healthy? Is there budget cuts coming or not? How can I help? What can we do to make the situation better for my kids? Be involved. It's very important. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.